Hello and welcome to New Frontiers on CCTV International. I'm Ji Xiaojun in Beijing. And today we're continuing our series, Chinese Civilization, in which we are tracing the evolution of Chinese civilization through an investigation of archaeological discoveries, historical sites, and cultural relics. Now, Chinese agriculture had two distinct origins. One was the region along the Yellow River in the north. The other was the Yangtze River. In today's program, we are focusing on the earliest days of Chinese civilization in the Yangtze River area. 6,000 years ago, on and around the Jianghan Plain bordering the Yangtze River, there was a relatively well-developed civilization. People had already been growing rice in the area for thousands of years.
Beginning from 5,000 years ago, when the Yellow River gave birth to Yan Di, or the Yan Emperor, and Huang Di, the Yellow Emperor, the two greatest heroes in Chinese antiquity, people in this land started to call themselves Chinese. With the seeds of civilization planted 10,000 years ago sprouting, growing, and blooming in the Central Plain, the development of Chinese culture was gathering momentum. A great nation was about to be born. By 6,000 years ago, around the Jianghan Plain in the Yangtze River area, culture was already fairly well developed, as can be seen from the beautiful pottery cups, bowls, and pots produced. Of all the pottery made, the most unique was white pottery with decorative patterns in low relief, doubtless the highest artistic attainment in the China of prehistory. People had already begun to grow rice several thousand years before, and of course, rice remains an important crop to the present day. The remote village of Changtoushan beside Dongting Lake in Lixian County, Hunan Province became famous in 1996 when the remains of an ancient city were discovered. The city occupied an area of 88,000 square meters, and enclosing the town was a city wall 13 meters wide on top and 35 meters thick at the bottom. Surrounding the wall was a 30-meter wide trench. Incredibly, this city flourished 6,000 years ago, and its size was almost too huge to imagine.
This 种城市的出现应该是文明化非常明显的一个标志，而这个标志我们过去都不敢想象，我们以前以为是夏商周这个时候才有城，结果是在史前，在夏商周以前。你比如陈斗山吧，陈斗山是公元前4000年左右，它就有城了，也就是离开现在6000多年。
The ground inside the ancient city has risen to the height of the city walls due to deposits caused by human activities and processes of nature. Today, the ground is used for growing rice. But what was it like here 6,000 years ago? When archaeologists carefully removed the layers of accumulated earth, revealed in front of them was an ancient rice field, exactly the same in appearance as a field of rice today. Incredibly, the soil still carried the fragrance of rice from 6,000 years ago. But perhaps this was not too surprising, as rice growing in the Dongting Lake area can be traced back to 10,000 years ago.
这个最近2年，我跟美国哈佛大学的一个考古队合作，在那里又发现了几粒稻子，这个是正儿八经的稻子。这种稻子呢，又像野生稻，又像栽培稻，这就证明是刚刚开始驯化的，这个刚刚栽培没多久的，那你不是找起源吗？这就是起源的时间。什么年代呢？公元前1万多年，不可能再早了。世界上没有一个地方的农作物有找得这么早的。
But rice was not only available in the middle reaches of the Yangtze. About 7,000 years ago, a group of people had arrived at a point further down the river in Hemudu, Yuyao County, Zhejiang Province, and they became the first settlers in this area. When a large archaeological excavation was conducted here in 1973, a highly significant cultural layer was discovered. This layer, left by Hemudu people, was 4 meters thick, and it told of life here 7,000 years ago. Excavation of the site revealed that rice had been planted in large quantities. In fact, a number of well-preserved golden rice grains and green rice leaves were found. From what they examined, archaeologists were able to determine the quantity of rice that had been stored in this place, 120 tons, enough to feed 500 people for a year. It isn't difficult to imagine a mealtime scene here 7,000 years ago when the air would have been permeated with the fragrance of cooked rice. Some burned rice can still be seen inside this pot. Besides farming rice, Hemudu people kept pigs and cattle and grew a wide leaf plant as a vegetable. But Hemudu people were not only agricultural. They were also artistic, as can be seen from the numerous works that impress even the most critical contemporary eyes. Depictions of the sea, playful birds amid waves, and the golden sunrise all found their way into the artistic works of Hemudu people. This ivory carving features the rising sun on each side and 2 birds looking at each other, the first phoenixes to take to the Chinese sky. The houses of Hemudu people were built on wooden platforms that rose well above ground level. Their houses somewhat resembled birds' nests, and obviously building such a house was no easy job. First, piles were erected to support the floors, to which were then added beams and a roof. But the best thing about such a house was that it was waterproof, and this made it ideal for the local environment. It seems incredible, but 7,000 years ago, craftsmen in Hemudu were using wooden brackets in house construction, and they were using very advanced joining techniques when laying floors. The use of wooden brackets and wood joining techniques are essential in traditional Chinese house construction, and they are still used even today. But the revelation that Hemudu people invented them during the Stone Age before the discovery and use of metals is astonishing. But after living in this area for 1,700 years, Hemudu people suddenly vanished. Where did they go? Nobody knows for sure. It is as if they were birds that simply flew away, never to return.
中国文明就是独立发生，是一个强势文明，而且一直传承到现在，没有中断。世界上没有第二个文明是这样的，没有第二个文明有这样强势，没有第二个文明没有中断。
It was strange that the Hemudu people, having spent 1,700 years attaining a relatively advanced state of civilization, should suddenly have vanished. Within a few centuries, a new culture called Liangzhu began to develop in the area, and it would give rise to a brilliant jade culture.
It is a day 5,000 years ago, and a ceremonial funeral is in progress. The body of the deceased, a king, has been laid on the finest brocade, and a jade axe, a symbol of his supreme control over his mighty army even after death, is about to be placed beside the dead king's body, with all reverence, by a sorcerer. But yet more jade objects will be added, among them an object used to communicate with heaven, known as a tung, the presence of which beside the king indicates that he is the sorcerer of sorcerers. All the jade objects are intended to enable the king to continue his life of luxury in the other world, but rather than a ceremony to bury the king, this is a ceremony to make him immortal. But who were these people, and what, if anything, did they contribute to the development of Chinese civilization? What did they leave behind for later generations? It has always been known that the area comprising the lower reaches of the Yangtze River has an abundance of lakes, and that this makes it a paradise on earth. But for archaeologists, it is what lies under this paradise that makes it of greater interest. They had long suspected that underneath the soil lay an ancient kingdom awaiting discovery. In 1936, in Liangzhu town, Yuhang, Zhejiang province, a research worker from Xihu Museum, Zhejiang province by the name of Xue Xingang made a sensational Neolithic age discovery. He published his finds in an article entitled Liangzhu, the name of the place where the discovery was made. Because a large amount of dark pottery objects were found at Liangzhu, at first people felt it had to be a branch of Longshan culture, an incorrect notion that lasted until 1959 when the error was finally corrected. The culture discovered at Liangzhu flourished between 5,300 and 4,100 years ago, and it covered a vast area that included today's Taihu Lake, Ningxiao Plain, the Zhoushan Islands, and the western and northern parts of present-day Jiangsu province.
人类学研究这个农业的阶段呢，有一个是无耕农业，开始这个农业是不会耕作的，后面有个畴耕农业，就是用锄头用铲子的，后面有个犁耕农业，犁耕农业是畴耕农业发展的一个高级阶段。这个犁耕农业一般都是文明发生以后的事儿。我们在良渚文化里面就有犁耕农业了，良渚文化可是公元前3000多年到公元前2000多年。
The appearance of silk sped up the pace of world civilization, but we now know that the people of Liangzhu culture were among the first to enjoy this luxury product, as carbon-14 tests have revealed that these pieces of hemp and silk are more than 5,000 years old. Liangzhu people had already mastered silkworm breeding, silk reeling and silk weaving techniques in ancient antiquity, and the silk they made is surprisingly similar in appearance to modern products. But the image of the silkworm appears in artworks by the people of Hemudu culture, and this means that silk production dates back to 7,000 years ago. But back to the ancient ceremony. We now know that the deceased was the king of the Liangzhu kingdom. While the body of the king has long decayed, leaving behind not even a trace, the jade burial objects have remained immortal. On a suffocatingly hot summer's day at a site overgrown with weeds in a place named Fanshan, archaeologists from Zhejiang province were carefully removing soil. It was the site of an ancient tomb. After affixing 2 bamboo poles to reinforce the entrance to the tomb, the scientists entered, and standing on wooden boards they began very slowly and carefully to brush off the soil covering the objects inside. As the archaeologists worked, one after another, magnificent objects of jade were brought to light, and after these objects were rinsed clean in distilled water, they made their original appearance known. By this time, the archaeologists knew that Liangzhu people had lived in an era of jade. A brilliant jade culture was being revealed after being in oblivion for 5,000 years. The jade tung was a hallmark of Liangzhu culture. It was a long square object with a hole running all the way through the middle. Every jade tung ever found bears either a very complicated or a very simple decorative pattern, but no matter the type of decorative pattern, all are similar and were probably crafted into this unique form out of some belief that was deep-rooted among Liangzhu people. But what did these mysterious patterns mean? Although somewhat simpler in design than the jade tung, the jade bee was also a religious object. The beauty of the bee lies in its original colour, free from any adjustment by the person who crafted it. The jade yue was an axe-like weapon often used on the battlefield in ancient China. This jade yue stood for power, rather in the same manner as a scepter did in the hands of a European king. This jade yue features the carving of a bird on its lower part, while its upper part bears an exquisite image of a human figure with an animal face. To Liangzhu people, this was the supreme god, and this god was worshipped only by the king, never commoners.
Jade appears to have played a key role in the lives of the Liangzhu people. Evidently, the kings had many jade craftsmen working for them. Yet, despite almost constant efforts, none of the tools used by Liangzhu jade craftsmen have ever been found.
It is clear that Liangzhu rulers had a large number of jade craftsmen working for them. Yet, so far, despite repeated efforts, none of the tools used by Liangzhu jade craftsmen have been found. Most Liangzhu jade pieces were made with a kind of stone called soft jade, but this is something of a misnomer. Soft jade is, in fact, harder than iron or steel. Yet, without metal tools, Liangzhu craftsmen somehow managed to carve out exquisite decorative patterns on this incredibly hard jade. How they did so remains a mystery. Many of the Liangzhu jade pieces unearthed are masterworks of miniature carving with lines so fine that they are difficult to discern with the naked eye. In some cases, there are several fine lines in the width of just 1 millimeter. Just how ancient craftsmen achieved this feat is a puzzle. Besides State Road number 104, which cuts through southeastern China, there is a huge earthen platform. People had long been confused by the appearance of this mountain, as its top had obviously been cut off through human effort. Archaeologists believed it to be the site of an ancient altar, as found scattered around this strange mountain were many Liangzhu period tombs. From the nature of the jade objects unearthed from a number of these tombs, the archaeologists determined that their occupants had been aristocrats. Archaeologists soon confirmed that this rectangular earthen platform, 300,000 square meters in size, was not natural but man-made. Constructing it would have taken at least 10,000 workers toiling an entire year.
应该说呢，研究文明的起源，对于研究整个的这个中国这个国家民族的形成发展都有非常重要的意义，这是学术上的意义。那么从文化上意义来说起来的话呢，我想也是很重要的。那就是说呢，这个中国文明的起源就决定了中国文明、中国整个的传统文化它的一个发展方向，它的各方面特点。而这一点和整个中华民族包括这个海外的华侨华裔它的对于民族的认同这方面都会起很重要的作用。
The great historian Sima Qian, who lived from around 145 BC to 86 BC, wrote of a hero named Chu Yo who lived in remote antiquity. Chu Yo was said to be an awe-inspiring fighter who had with him 81 brothers. Whether they were blood brothers or sworn brothers from his tribe is still a moot point. We are told his tribe and those allied with him were named Dongyi and that they were active in the lower reaches of the Yellow River in present-day Shandong province. Meanwhile, an alliance was formed between Huangdi and Yandi, and it was named Huaxia or Cathay. The territory it covered took in present-day Hunan, Shanxi and Shanxi provinces. The two alliances, or the two cultures, progressed rapidly until about 5,000 years ago, when they met and merged to give birth to the Chinese nation, the population of which are descendants of Huangdi and Yandi.
中国的这个文明呢，它实际上是一个逐步整合的文明，就是由这些小的城邦或者国家，它慢慢融合兼并，越来越大。从政治层面上，它是一种整合；从文化层面上，也是一种整合；从经济层面上，它还是一种整合。这样，中华文明就是在这样的基础上产生的，是越滚越大，势力越来越强，那么文明的发展越来越稳定，这个越来越加速，一个稳健发展，一直到后来没有中断。
Yandi, Huangdi, and Chuyo, and others as yet unknown to us, are the ancestors of the Chinese nation. The era between 4,000 and 5,000 years ago produced many heroes, and sagas about them have come down through history to the present age to form the first chapter of Chinese history. That first chapter tells of the first line of civilization to appear on the horizon, to shine over the vast Chinese land, and proclaim the birth of a nation, China.
The period from 5,000 to 4,000 years ago is an age of legend in China. It gave rise to tales of heroes whose exploits on the battlefield and in creating civilizations wrote the first chapter in Chinese history. In many ways, the development of Chinese civilization was, in the earliest days, a process of integration in which it was fed by various cultural elements originating in numerous cities and small states. By the time of the Bronze Age, a great nation was on the verge of emerging. We'll hear more about China's Bronze Age in our next episode, and please stay tuned. And thank you for staying with us on today's New Frontiers. I'm Ji Xiaojun from CCTV International. Bye for now.